Today, I'm diving deep into the world of Black Panther to figure out if Killmonger was actually a hero in disguise. Join me on this mind-bending journey. Killmonger is one of the most complex and intriguing characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. On the surface, he's a villain, driven by a desire for power and revenge. But as we delve deeper into his motivations and actions, it becomes clear that there's more to him than meets the eye. He's a character who challenges our traditional notions of good and evil, and raises important questions about morality, identity, and the responsibility that comes with power. The central conflict in Black Panther revolves around Killmonger's desire for change, and his willingness to do whatever it takes to achieve it. He's a product of the world that Wakanda has created, a world that has been hidden from the rest of the world for centuries. He's a reminder that the actions of the past have consequences, and that the status quo is not always just or fair. Killmonger's actions are driven by a sense of outrage and betrayal, and a deep-seated desire to right the wrongs of the past. He's a force of nature, unstoppable and unyielding, and his presence in the film forces T'Challa and the other characters to confront their own complicity in the system. Killmonger's desire for change is not just driven by a sense of personal grievance, but also by a vision for a better future. He believes that Wakanda has the power to change the world, and that it's time for the country to stop hiding and start leading. He's willing to do whatever it takes to make this vision a reality, even if it means destroying the old guard and building a new order from the ashes. This is a complex and nuanced ideology, driven by a sense of moral urgency and a desire for justice. It's an ideology that challenges T'Challa's own sense of purpose and responsibility, and forces him to confront the limitations of his own vision. Killmonger's actions are not without consequences, however. His methods are brutal and destructive, and they ultimately lead to the downfall of Wakanda's isolationist regime. But even as we condemn his actions, we're forced to confront the underlying issues that drive them. We're forced to ask ourselves whether the ends justify the means, and whether the pursuit of justice and equality is worth the cost in blood and treasure. These are difficult questions, with no easy answers, and they're questions that the film raises but doesn't necessarily answer. In many ways, Killmonger's background and experiences are the key to understanding his perspective and actions. He's a product of the diaspora, a man who has been shaped by the cruel hand of fate and the harsh realities of the outside world. He's a man who has been left behind, forgotten and ignored, and he's determined to make his presence felt. His vision for Wakanda is not just driven by a desire for power or revenge, but by a deep sense of hurt and betrayal. He's a man who has been wounded, and he's determined to make the world pay for its indifference. Killmonger's ideology is not without its flaws, of course. His methods are brutal and dictatorial, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to achieve his goals. But even as we condemn his actions, we're forced to acknowledge the underlying passion and conviction that drives him. We're forced to confront the fact that he's not just a one-dimensional villain, but a complex and multifaceted human being, driven by a deep sense of purpose and conviction. The pivotal scene in the film, where Killmonger's ideology clashes with T'Challa's, is a powerful and emotional moment. It's a moment that resonates long after the credits roll, a moment that forces us to confront the underlying themes of identity and belonging that drive the film. It's a moment that challenges our assumptions and forces us to question our own sense of purpose and responsibility. It's a moment that reminds us that the lines between good and evil are not always clear-cut, and that even the most well-intentioned actions can have unintended consequences. In this scene, Killmonger's vision for Wakanda is laid bare, and we're forced to confront the emotional weight of his words. We're forced to acknowledge the hurt and betrayal that drives him, and to confront the limitations of our own empathy and understanding. It's a powerful and unsettling moment, a moment that challenges our assumptions and forces us to question our own sense of identity and belonging. So, was Killmonger a hero in disguise? That's a question that the film leaves open, and one that's open to interpretation. But even as we grapple with this question, we're forced to acknowledge the complexity and nuance of his character. We're forced to acknowledge the passion and conviction that drives him, and the emotional weight of his words. We're forced to confront the underlying themes of identity and belonging that drive the film, and to question our own sense of purpose and responsibility. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think about Killmonger's role in Black Panther in the comments below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more analyses of complex characters and themes in film and television.